In this video, I actually want to talk about something that indeed bothers me. You may be seeing on screen now, I'm not actually in front of the camera. That's because I'm actually recording this video early in the morning and I can't actually be on video talking to a camera. So I am behind the scenes, behind this gameplay of the game, and I'm trying to really also ramp up the amount of videos I'm doing on my channel. So I'm going to be doing more videos on the channel. No promises of more content, but I'm trying to pull more content out for you guys. You guys know I do a lot of content for you in the first place, so it's not like you get a lack of content from me in the first place, but I do want to do more content on the channel, and I want to talk about different things that really interest me. This is still gaming related. One thing I didn't know that recently was confirmed is the fact that, if you didn't know, the original Wii shop is actually closing down fairly soon. It means that it's going to be gone forever. When you actually boot up the Wii shop on your Wii, you'll be unable to access it in the near future, like I think at the end of this month or the beginning of next month. So it's fairly recent. I know last year was the last time you can actually type in points when it comes to the Wii shop, was last year, but now you won't be even able to access it even if you had unused points on there. So if you still have points laying around the Wii shop, you may want to use them fairly soon, because they are closing that shop and no one's going to be able to access that shop after that, which absolutely sucks. And this is something that actually bothers me. It sucks that there are some games out there that are digital games, especially indie games, which it sucks that when a company shuts down their servers for the shop, you will no longer be able to access those games ever again. And that also means that even if you have them backed up onto like the system itself or like a hard drive and things like that, what happens when your system dies, or what happens when the hard drive you have them stored on eventually craps out and dies on you, you're pretty much out of luck, and that means you can't access them ever again. I mean, your hardware could last for years and years, but who knows when that day comes when your hardware finally eventually craps out and dies. And it sucks that once it's stuck on there, it's pretty much stuck on there forever when it dies, and there's really no way to transfer it to like a new system. And it sucks they're not making that system anymore and you can't access it. Here's something I wish companies would do in the near future. I hope companies will allow you to sign in to like the current generation of hardware, whether we're talking like the next PlayStation, the next Xbox, the next Nintendo system, and actually allow people out there to actually re-download everything they bought on a previous console, last gen console. I think that would actually be a very great idea. So that pretty much guarantees that your content is never gonna go anywhere, and you pretty much know every time a new generation of a hardware comes out of a system, you pretty much know everything you got is gonna be safe and sound. It does suck that you're pretty much spending thousands of dollars or even hundreds of dollars on video games, which are pretty much never guaranteed to be safe, and they're pretty much never yours to own, because if the store shuts down for whatever reason, you're pretty much out of luck on that aspect. Don't get me wrong, physical media is still a thing in 2018 and probably still in 2019, 2020, 2021. It's going to be a while for physical media to die, but like I said, there's certain games that you may want to play, like some indie games, and you know most indie games don't get a physical release. There is some exception to that rule where some indie games do get that exception where you can play indie games or you can get indie games on a physical release, but that rarely happens to most games. So if you want an indie game, you're going to be buying it from some type of store, whether we're talking about the eShop, Nintendo eShop on your Switch, whether we're talking about the PSN store or the Xbox Live Marketplace. You are going to have to buy your indie games through digital distribution, and that absolutely does suck for a lot of people out there, and that's actually very devastating. And I don't blame people for buying their games, but it just sucks that a lot of money you spent for these video games may not be kept forever, because if your system craps out or if something happens to the shop and you can't re-access it for whatever reason, you're pretty much out of luck. I guess the only platform that's pretty much never going to go anywhere and the shop's never going to shut down is pretty much the Steam store on PC. So if you buy your games on Steam, you're pretty much going to be covered for your whole lifetime. Is there still that chance that you may not be able to access access your game, yes, there's still that one-off chance that the Steam store could shut down or something could happen to it, or in fact, maybe the store doesn't even shut down. Maybe the licensing or something happens to a game or it gets pulled off a store. I know there was that one game on Switch, One Strike. I seen it on Switch right now. It's currently back up on Switch, but I know it got removed from the eShop for I think a copyright infringement reason for the music. I think the music they used wasn't licensed and they didn't own the rights to it, and they weren't supposed to have the music in there. They already resolved the issue, but that means that you couldn't buy the game ever again. I think if you downloaded it though, you can re-download it since the shop's still there. I'm pretty sure you can do that. I know there was a game back on Xbox 360 that absolutely got discontinued. I think Scott Pilgrim Saves the World. I think Scott Pilgrim Saved the World was another game that got removed for some copyright issues as well, and you could never buy that game ever again. So that absolutely sucks that some games disappear, but like I said, when the store shuts down, you're pretty much out of luck, and it does suck. We need a way to preserve our games. We need a way to make sure that these companies, when they shut down these stores, that you're never gonna lose your content, and you can sign in somewhere else to download your content. I know some people may say, well, in the near future, I'm probably never ever going to want to play my old game since a new console came out and since I'm probably playing new stuff. And that is true with a lot of people. A lot of people out there tend to actually play the next generation of console, and they pretty much moved away. But there'll be these times where maybe you're sitting there, you don't know what to play, or maybe you just want to chill out on like a Saturday night or a Friday night, and sometimes you're thinking about, oh, I remember this game back on the Wii shop, I want to play this game, boot up my Wii, but then your Wii craps out on you, and you can't really re-download a game that you currently already have bought, which does suck. And on top of that, Nintendo is still one company that's still very weird when it comes to digital distribution and what happens when your system craps out, even if they're still selling the current gen. Like for instance, they still sell 3DSs brand new, but the problem is if you buy digital games on your 3DS, whether it's physical releases or indie games or virtual console games on your 3DS, when your system breaks, you can't just re-sign in to your 3DS and re-download the games, because Nintendo makes sure all your purchases are tied to that certain 3DS that broke. Sometimes you can go to Nintendo and actually dispute the whole argument and tell them that you have hundreds of dollars worth of games on a current console that broke, and I bought a new 3DS and I want to transfer all my purchases, and a lot of times that will work out. But luckily, most current gen platforms like PlayStation and Xbox don't really have that issue, so you really don't have to worry about that being a thing where your purchases are going to be tied to one console. Luckily, if they still sell the console, you can buy a brand new console and actually download your games, or even if they stop selling that console, you can still find one used and still play all your games. But it does suck if for whatever reason the consoles start to crap out or the store shuts down. You're pretty much out of luck on that aspect. This is just like a little ranting video, how I actually wanted to rant about this whole situation, and it does suck, the Wii store shutting down. So if you have all your games, you better hopefully have them backed up, and you better make sure your Wii doesn't actually crap out on you, because once your Wii craps out on you, you're pretty much out of luck, and you're pretty much never going to have your games ever again. I guess what you could do, which I highly don't recommend, but I guess if you're desperate enough, what you could do is hack a Wii, and then I know there's a way to get all those games, like those Wii Shop or WiiWare games on a Wii, if you still have a Wii. I don't know if you can play them on an emulator on the PC to preserve those games. That's one reason why I like emulation and things like that, even though emulation is like a gray area and a lot of people say it's a bad thing, it's like illegal and things like that. I like emulation because it pretty much preserves old consoles. What happened when old consoles crap out and things like that, you really can't preserve the games and things like that. It just sucks it just sucks also knowing that a lot of people have bought all these digital games that are pretty much going to be non-existent in like 30-40 years, which does suck. And on top of that, we are kind of moving into a digital age of gaming where pretty much I can guarantee you in like the next 10 to 20 years, we're probably all going to be buying our games digital without a doubt. You can see the traces of GameStop kind of dying down. They're being bought out by another company, so who knows how long GameStop has, and you all know that services like streaming services are going to be a thing. Google did a test run last year of their Google streaming service, and on top of that, I know Amazon is releasing one. I kind of already talked about that, and Microsoft is going to be doing one like that. And if they go away completely from owning your games digitally, like streaming services. I'm kind of against streaming services because that means once the service shuts down, you don't get to own the game at all, and you're pretty much out of luck on that aspect. And I do not agree with that, because what happens if I want to play a game on like the next consoles, but the streaming service shut down? Well, I guess I can't even play it anymore because the streaming service is shut down. So overall, the future for gaming does kind of scare me a little bit, and it also does puzzle me. Why in the heck would Nintendo want to shut down their shop? I know the Wii is very old at this point. It came out in, I think, 2006, so it is a very old console, and I know Nintendo can make the claim, well, it's very old, and a lot of people are already playing the Switch, or at least playing the Wii U at this point, even though the Wii U's pretty old, but at least the Wii U's more current, and they're like, well, there's no point of having the Wii shop up, it's costing us money to run. That is true, but you have to think about it this way. Nintendo is a very big company, and they have like billions and trillions of dollars in the bank, so it probably wouldn't cost them all that much money to keep the Wii shop up. Or at least if they don't want to keep the Wii shop up, at least make sure people have a way to preserve their games so they can have a copy of their games forever. Why can't I, like I said, going back to the beginning of the video, why can't I have my games transferred to my Switch, since it is the current generation console, and make sure all my WiiWare games and all my Virtual Console games on the Wii are transferred over? That's just something that really does scare me. Hundreds of dollars of games and potentially thousands of dollars of games could be lost in the future due to hardware failure, due to stores closing. I don't understand why Nintendo likes cutting services so early. When you look at different companies like Sony and Microsoft, they don't really cut their servers. I think the 360 servers are still going. You can still download stuff from Xbox Live Marketplace from the 360. Same thing with PlayStation Store. The PSN Store, I think on 360, or not 360, PS3, excuse me, is still going. So you could download games from PS3 right now if you currently own a PS3. And I don't know when they're going to shut down those servers. Will those servers be up forever? Probably they won't be up forever. They could be up forever. It is possible, but most likely companies don't want to keep supporting an old piece of hardware, an old platform, when most people probably already moved away from that platform. So I really don't blame Nintendo for doing that. But like I said, it probably costs them literally not too much money to keep those servers up. But then again, I can see why they would want to cut support, because it's still extra money that they don't need to be spending when most people already moved on to the Wii U or probably the Switch at this point. So that's me just rambling on about this whole situation of the future of gaming. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out. Beep.